Hey, happy Sunday. This is PFG.Live, the podcast dedicated to the writings of internet philosopher Hey Man, Why Didn't Ya? Who asks, why do you need an antenna if it's digital? Welcome aboard. We have a bunch of guys in the Discord server, folks showing up on YouTube. Welcome. Nice to see you. Starting with the Discord server, we've got Evils checking in from Ghent, Belgium, where it is 19.4 degrees science and 5.3 degrees science for his dew point inside his lovely apartment. Bill Olney reports in Rome, New York, it's 23 degrees Fahrenheit, overcast and snowy. Dale in Canada says it's minus 19 degrees Celsius and cloudy with 77% relative humidity in the northwest of Canada. Paul Morley in Dallas says it is 59 degrees Frankenstein. Josh said he's reporting for audio check duty. Thank you very much. In tropical Winnipeg right now, winds are 110 at 12 knots. Visibility 15 miles, overcast at 1200. Temperature minus 11. Dew point minus 13. Altimeter 2978. Remarks. Pressure falling rapidly. Good luck, Josh. Quentin is checking in. Let's see, from Echo Hotel Kilo Delta, where winds are 280 at 15 knots, variable 250 to 320, and a bunch of other things that are not standard to me. Few clouds at 1500. CB, cumulonimbus. Are you getting rain? Temperature 01, dew point 00, and other things. Kyle Kirsch, welcome aboard, sir. It's 49 degrees and cloudy in Salem, Oregon. Let's see. Adam. Another Adam. Write that down. We're up to, 7? Welcome aboard, Adam. He says it's reporting in at minus 8C from the Czech Republic. Nice to see you. Tucker, also known as Plastic Man, is 29 degrees Fahrenheit and cloudy in Buffalo, New York. And let's see. Evils tells us that the moon and Jupiter is out your window. Just be nice. By the way, that's no moon. Arstead says it's 33 degrees Fahrenheit and 64% relative humidity in Peoria, Illinois. Let's jump over to the YouTubes where we're getting all sorts of reports. Let's see. Mr. Carl Tauber says it's 28 degrees and partly sunny in the People's Republic of Rhode Island. Mr. C.S. Weldfab says it's 54 and sunny in East Tennessee. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you very much, sir. Quentin says snow today, not rain for a change. Ted Hyde in Eustis, Florida, says Kilo Lima Echo Echoes is 030 at 9 knots, visibility 10 miles, overcast at 1500, temperature 17, dew point 14, altimeter 3007. Remarks, nodes near me, 0. We'll find out what that means in a few minutes. Who else am I missing here? Welcome aboard, everyone, and Happy New Year. It's 2026. I can't believe it either. But, as you write those voluminous checks this week, make sure you get the date right. It's 2026. Who knew? Who knew it would go this far? So, we just kind of cruised through this holiday season, and I actually took some time to chill out, which was kind of cool. I did a bunch of interesting projects, which we'll talk about, and enjoyed it. Cleaned the office. Yes, I did clean the office. I locked myself in my office and just started cleaning. And there's 2 big bags going out to the dump on Wednesday. And I'm very happy. I don't know if you're on video. If you look over here, you see that? That's actually carpet on the other side of that table. And you could not see that before. There's not only a floor, there might soon be a desk. So that was my New Year's launch, is to get some of that stuff done. And it went very well. So we're going to be talking about a few interesting topics today. And some of them are related to the new year, but some of them are just follow-ups from previous things we covered. If at any time you want to drop a question in the chat or a comment in the chat on YouTube or Discord, please feel free to do so. So Quentin says that checks don't tell anybody in the Czech Republic, but checks were phased out in 2001 in the Netherlands. Wow. We still use them. I still get paid in paper checks sometimes. I still have to write paper checks and sign checks sometimes, although we talk to our clients and we say, if you can do it electronically, we prefer it electronically. We have PayPal and other flavors of direct deposit. Let's phase out the paper. I think it's a good idea. I think we should. So we'll work on that. One of the topics we're going to talk about today is tracking goals. And this was sort of a question that popped up because I have a system that has changed over the years, and I have a system that sometimes changes month to month. But how do you track progress, track your checklists, keep on target, stay on target for your goals? And everybody has a different method. So I want to talk about that. So if you guys have some ideas that you want to come in with, that'd be great. One of the things that happened over the course of the holidays is I got to do some things in the shop that I don't get to do very much. So we did some projects. Tuck says, goals? Never heard of them. Yes, you have. I have this picture, which let's see if I could find the full size picture for you guys on video. Let's see. It's in here somewhere. Oh, there it is. So my wife has this lovely vase that was made for us by Jared, my son. And the bottom of this lovely vase wasn't exactly parallel to the z-axis of the vase, and it was a little lumpy. So it would sit on a table and it would wobulate. So okay, we're getting there, bud. It's even better than that. So I said, well, we could make that flat. I'd flatten that. So we went ahead and there it is. I took a tooling block that I had, a step block, and I put it on the grinder. I strapped the vase to the step block with some plastic, as you can see in this photo, and went ahead and ground the bottom of this thing with a diamond wheel and inflatinated it. And you know what? It came out awesome. And I showed it to Jared, and Jared was a little concerned that his initials somewhat got obliterated. So we may have some laser experiments coming up here. But that's what I did on my summer vacation, is make that vase no longer wobulate. Evil says, why not just make the bottom concave and not worry about flat? We are not heathens here, sir. By the way, flat is concave. Okay, we'll talk about that later. Josh says, and you thought your parents had unrealistic expectations. Yes, they did. And Tuck asks if it came with an inspection report. If you have to inspect it, it's not good enough. Yeah, where's the Zygo report? When I get my Zygo interferometer, I will report on that vase. Anyway, it is a success, and it is sitting, holding some beautiful flowers. So that was that was one of the weird projects we had this holiday interstitial period. Let's see what else was going on here. After we talked about coolant last week, we had a phenomenal discussion on the Discord server about the concept of companies providing a way to recycle the thing that they just sold you. And, we started talking about coolant companies giving you a way to recycle your coolant that they will effectuate, they can make happen. But then we expanded it. And the question was, well, what about everything else? If you buy a, some other thing, should the company take this? So we brought up IKEA, right? IKEA sells you this stuff, which it's designed to last 4 years. And should IKEA take back the stuff when you're all done with it and give you a way to recycle it? I don't mean for free, but I mean responsibly and reasonably. And we laughed about it. And then one of the guys looked up on the IKEA website, and what do you know? They do. It's very quiet. They don't talk about it a lot, but you can bring something back for recycling. I think I've previously reported that I've had the oldest the oldest iMac that I had, Apple iMac, 27-inch. It had timed out. It was no longer useful. So, took it to Apple, and they wanted to give me money. They wanted to, credit. I said, no. I just want you to recycle it. And they said, we'll be happy to do that. And they took it and they recycled it. So that was a very, very interesting discussion that happened amongst some of us on Discord after that event. That was pretty cool. What else? I'm just looking at my pictures here, and that's reminding me of all the wonderful things we did. We're also going to be talking today a little bit about mesh radios, and in particular the Meshtastic system, which might have some strange usefulness for us, and we'll get into the depths of that. I think before we do that, let's just tick off the international shipping question. So one of the things that I did over the holiday break is figure out international shipping much better than I had. On my website, which is PFG.GG or kineticprecision.com, I say if you want to buy PFG stones and you don't get a rate quoted to you for shipping, that means I didn't have a method for getting it to your country. So please send me a message. So I get these messages, and I had about 4 of them stacked up because it was taking me a lot of time to create a shipping option for that country. So that was a problem that was top of mind. So the thing that led us to the solution was Canada. So Canada had a strike. They had a postal strike. Canada, my customers in Canada said, please do not use UPS, because I won't get into the details, but UPS was just raking them over the coals in Canada. So I said, actually, my Canadian friends said, what about DHL? Actually, first they said, what about Purolator? Then they said, what about DHL? So I find a DHL office. I think I've mentioned this before, and did a sample, right? I packaged up the part, went to DHL. They said, we like to inspect it, so please don't final seal it when you bring it to us. We will inspect it and seal it up and ship it. And I'm like, okay. I go through this process. It was weird. And in under 24 hours from the time I walked into the DHL office, under 24 hours, my customer was holding it. Okay. And I said, this is sounding pretty good. Dale, who's up in Canada, says, in Canada, UPS stands for use Purolator, stupid. So in Canada, Purolator is a big deal. I looked for Purolator down here. I found nothing. So the first sample of DHL was like really good. Then I get another order from Canada, and we DHL that order. Same thing. Lightning fast. Worked great. No issues. Okay. So I said, I think we did one other country before I finally cracked. And I said, we're done. We're just using DHL. So I did a bunch of research. And I created the shipping rates for DHL and sent out an email to all the people that had been querying me from other countries. And I said, we now have essentially all the countries, not all the countries, but you're ready to go. I immediately got an additional 2 international orders like that. And they're out, they're in the wind and they're flying. And I am utterly happy with what I've seen so far. I will continue to report, but it's been absolutely great. It is a little weird, and I want to explain why I think it's a little weird. So when you go to DHL, you go to the customer service office near the airport, they want to inspect your package. So I've created a process where I package up the stones, except the top cover of the box or the top flaps of the box. I put one little piece of tape. I actually put a dashed line on it, and I say, okay to inspect. So they can slit it open it up, look at it, close it up, tape it up, and send it. The second thing that happens is you sign, there's a security label that basically says, this is me, I am shipping it, and you sign your name, and that gets slapped on the box. Fine. I believe that because they do this physical inspection, it's already like way down the pipe compared to when the UPS guy picks up your package or when you drop it off at the post office or whatever. So the next thing that happens is this thing is on airplanes and it's going. They could X-ray. They could additionally X-ray if they want. They do chemical whatever they want to do. But I think they do it up front. And boy, it flies. It flies. So far, knock on head, it looks like it's going to work out super well. And that's so I'm cautiously optimistic. On the PFG Stones site, I have removed all international options except for DHL, and we'll check back. Come talk to me in a month or two and see if I'm still happy. But I'm very, very, very happy with this. Now I recognize that I have an advantage, and my advantage is that I can get in my truck, and in 12 minutes I can be in the DHL office. Not everybody has that. I get it. But hashtag not sponsored, I would recommend giving DHL a shot for international. Domestic, inside the United States, still happy with USPS, still happy with UPS. No issues there. So I'm very happy about international shipping. So if you're international from me and you have held off on buying PFG Stones, the door is now open and we're good to go. I can even ship. I even have a rate for the Vatican. So check it out. So if any of you guys have any questions about that, feel free to ask. It was far less painful than I thought it was going to be. Oh, the other part of my process is I use Shippo for my shipping software, and DHL is integrated into Shippo. So it was like literally turn on a switch and then program up my rates in Squarespace, and I was done. So there you go. So that's the report on international shipping. It's working out really well, and stay tuned. So I want to talk about tracking goals. I have become this is my tool for tracking my goals and my to-do. This is 3x5 cards. Okay, that's 3 inches by 5 inches. I'm sure it's what is the designation in the metric size that's really close to this? It would be an A something. A1? Come on, evils. What's the equivalent of a 3x5 card in metric land? Quentin's going to beat you. A1 is A6. Okay, so A6. Got it. Yep, I had it backwards. So in metric land, this would be about an A6. Here in the United States, we call this a 3x5 card. Yeah, okay. So I think we landed on it. And what I do, this is my personal system, but I want to hear about you guys. So start typing. I want to hear what your system is. Every morning I sit down and I make my list. And what I do is I take the previous day's card. This is ideal. Sometimes I don't exactly stick to my schedule, but here's a really good example. This is a previous day's card. It's obviously been in my pocket. Oh, that's the other thing is if you fold it in half, it's very easy to fit in your pocket. I have yesterday's list, and some things got done and some things didn't get done. So I will circle the things that didn't get done so I don't forget about them. And then I will pick up the undone things, write it on the new card, write the new things I got to get done on the new card. And then once the old card has a line through everything, including if I moved it to the new card, then this one goes into the shredder. Okay. And then I have today's card. And what I find is that the physical act of writing it down is very important. It cements it in your memory, in your short-term memory. Yeah. So CS Weldfab, he says he writes it in the rain, in the rain. The small top spiral notepads. Yeah, so I remember seeing those. They're not too much different than this, but they're a notepad that has a spiral on top. That's a great way to do it. The act of writing cements it, and the act of crossing it out is sort of a micro reward. Like it's this little burst of dopamine that I got something done. I got something off my list. And the dirty little secret is even moving it from one list to the other list, because I draw a line through it with an arrow, which means I moved it to the next list, is sort of a little bit of dopamine. It's like a little reward. I'm staying organized. Another thing that I do, and I have found this to be actually a little less effective, is I use my phone, and I'm in the Apple ecosystem, and in the Apple ecosystem, there's an app called Notes. This is the Apple built-in app. Okay, and I find that it is pretty useful, especially if you don't have your pen, whatever. But it is not the same. It's not the same feedback. So I still use it because sometimes lists get very long, and I could put that in Notes. But I think my index card trick is more effective for me for pushing the ball up the hill. So that's my combination. It's the index cards using my little system, and it's the Notes app. Now I have tried other apps, and I'm familiar with at least 2 or 3 of them that are apps on your computer, on your phone, helps you track things. I really did try to get into it, and I actually ended up right back at the 3x5 cards. Now, if you're running a business and it's got a zillion moving parts, that could be a better way to go. There's an app that Pearson Workholding, Jay Pearson uses, and he mentioned it. Does anybody remember the name of that app? That was one of the apps that I tried, and it was good, but it had too many moving parts, and it was too much for me. Yeah, Quentin says, One of your friends makes nice little notebooks for this too. I think the U.S. distributor is in the audience. He's referring, of course, to Grimsmo Knives. The Honorable Mr. Grimsmo makes a notebook as part of the Grimsmo collection. Yes, Tucker, you're correct. So if you want a nice little notebook, Grimsmo is selling them. Trello, correct. Trello is one of the apps. I think you're right, Tuck. And I tried Trello, and it's very good. It had so many moving parts, it actually defocused me instead of focused me. Another thing is these little notebooks, right? So this is a little notebook. I like them in quadrile, so you can draw pictures. So sometimes I'll have this in my back pocket, and it's good for, making drawings, making lists, taking notes at meetings. I do that with these also. And this is a nice size. This is I think this is metric. Let's see if they say what it is. Well, I could measure it. For those of you on the audio podcast, I know this is exciting. This is 5.5 inches by 3.5 inches. The little book. And I forget the name of the manufacturer, but I really like their products. Unix Carbide says Trello can be useful with small groups of people. One key distinction: one is working alone, anything goes, or in a group where you have to share the work of collaboration starts. Yeah, we're in violent agreement. CS Wildfab says looks like the hardback version of the Write in the Rain. That's what it is. The Write in the Rain notebooks. Yes. So this is not a Write in the Rain. This does not want to be wet, but this is one of the notebook companies, which I don't remember. I wish Sam was here, because Sam knows all of these things, and has turned me on to a couple of the companies. Yeah, Paul Morley says that he is in the Apple ecosystem, and he likes the Reminders app, and shares it with the spousal partner. Excellent. So who else? So we have one vote for the Reminders app, and we have one vote for the little notebooks. Actually, we have two votes for the little notebooks. One is the from CS Wildfab, and one is who else was in the notebooks? Notebook. Tucker's a notebook guy, and people. Ted Hyde says Google Keep. Which is native Android. Interesting. Kyle Kirsch says Reminders app for him too. He says I set a time to get reminded of it, and it always stays on the phone until you clear it off. Proteum Machining, welcome aboard, sir. He says I use Remarkable for day-to-day stuff, and Shower Notes for when I do my actual thinking. Okay, excellent. Quentin says, I have different ways. Jira, Jira, at work. Whiteboard on the workshop wall for shop projects. Random pieces of paper for the little things around the house that my wife wants me to do. So the most likely thing you're going to lose is what your wife is telling you to do. We need to talk. Yeah, and Tucker says he carries his little notebook in his back pocket with writing device. By the way, my favorite writing device is this lovely Grimsmo Saga. Unfortunately, I'm too scared to lose it, so I keep it at my desk, but it sits right here in my 3x5 tray. Paul says field notes for light carry, Super Note Nomad otherwise for sketching and such. Quentin says she'll send me the pictures of the paper via Signal if I leave it on the table. She knows how to use the technology. That's excellent. So I would encourage everybody to, at least you're probably doing something. Identify what you're doing. Spend 3 minutes considering if that's getting the job done for you. and then improving the situation if it is improvable. That keeps the train on the tracks, and that keeps you moving toward your goals. I'm not a firm believer in New Year's resolutions. I think New Year's is a good kick in the butt for us to think about what we're doing. But if you're going to artificially create resolutions just because it's New Year's, I don't think that's necessary. I think you should stay on target. Stay on target. Let's see. Paul Morley says, for longer range, monthly, yearly goals and targets, digital calendar reminders are mandatory for me to jog me out of any particular rut I may have fallen into. So, yeah, one of the philosophies is that everything goes on the calendar. And I have used calendars which integrate both things to do and calendar. And if it resonates with you, do it. I do use the calendar for things that do have a time basis, and that does help. But anyway, if you're wondering what to get me for Christmas, 500 3x5 cards is totally fine. Let's see. All right. So we probably have a couple more messages coming in on this topic, but we'll talk about it more in the after show. But think about what you have going, and make sure you have something going. Quentin's got to go because it's late. Take care, bud, and maybe we'll see you after bedtime in the after party roundtable. So the another interesting thing that's happened in the last few weeks, I guess, couple of months. It's been a couple of months. Is the introduction of this thing called Meshtastic, and a couple of us have been playing with it and using it, and it's pretty cool. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is you are a complete noob, and 10 is you can teach a course in it, I would put myself at 1.5. And some of the guys in our group are closing in on 4 to 5. And I'm going to explain what it is and why we might be interested in it for this community. Now, a while back, you may recall that we, in the dry airflow system, where we pipe dry air to all of our AMSs in the 3D printers, or in containers that are holding our 3D filaments, that system, we closed the loop on that using Home Assistant. Home Assistant is a piece of software that runs typically on a Raspberry Pi. It makes a server that your devices, in our case, hygrometers, valves, and other things, can talk to, and then we can make automations in Home Assistant. Now, I know that John Saunders, I think, picked up the Home Assistant ball, and he's running with it. And I think there's a couple other people out there doing it. And I have my entire low-flow dry air system running on Home Assistant. And it's awesome. So I could pick up my phone. I could bring it up on the computer, a full control panel showing me what all the hygrometers are doing, temperatures, relative humidities, battery levels, and it's awesome. My rule is if anybody is above 15% relative humidity, the system turns on, and it feeds everybody a low flow of dry air. And then if everybody is below, I think it's 14%, if everybody is below 14%, turn the system off. So there's a little hysteresis. So the individual devices are hanging on a Wi-Fi network, and that Wi-Fi network has to talk to the server, which in this case is the Raspberry Pi or whatever, which is running the Home Assistant server. That is all running over Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is 2.4 gigahertz. It could also be 5 gigahertz, but in the case of most of the devices that you'll get for running Home Assistant, they're going to run at 2.4 gigahertz. So that's pretty cool. So that's the definition of what we've been doing. Along comes this other idea called Meshtastic. It uses a mesh network. So there's a difference between a network that works like you're used to, like Wi-Fi, where everybody has an address, there's a router, there's a server, there might be a firewall somewhere. That is all an internet protocol. It's literally called Internet Protocol. Mesh is different. So there's a mesh system called Zigbee, for example, that also runs at 2.4 gigahertz, but it is a mesh network. The way meshes work is they find their own paths to get the information back. Every node is the same as every other node. So everything I'm going to say from this point forth is about mesh networks, but it's about specifically how this thing called Meshtastic works. So Meshtastic works by you putting up what's called a node, and if you look in the thumbnail here, you'll see there it is. There's a node, and the node, you could use your computer, you could use your phone, and if you want to send a message, you could put a message in a channel, and you can transmit it. That message, when it's received by any other node, that node has a job. It's going to repeat your message. So generally it goes out with a number, which is the number of hops which is allowed for that message. I'm using 5 right now, okay? It comes default at 3. The maximum is 7. Don't use 7. We'll talk about that in a minute. So when you send out your message, it gets tagged with this number that says, I can go 5 hops. The next guy down the road who receives your packet reduces that number by 1 and retransmits your packet. And then everybody that receives that packet reduces that number by 1 and retransmits the packet. So that's how your message achieves a wide spread. And hopefully the target, if you have a target, of your message receives it via that method. Now that sounds inefficient, and it is, in fact, inefficient. It's not meant to be efficient. It's meant to be simple. So the higher that number is, the further your message will spread. The lower that number is, the less far, in quotes, your message will spread. But remarkably, for example, I have a node up here in Windham, New Hampshire, and I was getting communications with other nodes down in Connecticut. I would guess it was easily 150 miles away, and it might have taken 6 hops or 5 hops to get there. Some people have it turned up to 6. But it was very simple. So that's a mesh network. One of the other things that the mesh network allows for is customized channels. So you could set up a channel that has a certain channel name and it has an encryption key. So, for example, my wife could have a mobile node, and I could have a mobile node, and we can set up an encryption key. And if I send out a message and it gets bounced to her node, she could decrypt it and read the message. But if anybody else doesn't have the shared key, it's called a PSK, pre-shared key, then they can't decrypt the message. And that's very strong encryption. It goes up to 256-bit encryption using a shared key. That could be useful. Minor sidebar, in ham radio, we are not allowed to use encryption. Okay, it is a public service. Everything has to be unencrypted. This Meshtastic and using these radios is not a public service. It's not even a service. It is using radios in a license-free band called the ISM band, which stands for Industrial, Scientific, and Medical, which is set up worldwide specifically for devices to use radio communications without further need for licensing. And you can use encryption. Here in the United States, that band is 902 to 928 megahertz. Okay. In Europe, it's around 868 megahertz. There's a slight difference in the bands, but in our case, it's 902 to 928. The center of that band is about 915 megahertz. And what you see in the picture right here is a little deceiving in that the short little antenna on the left, which, by the way, I have replaced in practice, don't worry. This short little thing is the 900 megahertz antenna, and this tall thing is the 2.4 gigahertz antenna for Bluetooth. So you can control your box. You could talk to this box via Bluetooth. So your phone could be running an app and called Meshtastic, and it talks to the box, but inside the box is a processor and a radio and a battery, and that's doing all the work. So this box goes up to my attic. I'll show you a picture of the actual very, very unimpressive installation of the box in my attic with the coax on the left leading up to an antenna. And that is my permanent installed node at the house. Yeah, Bill says fancy install. I know. That's because I'm a trained professional, dude. So that's the short version of it. Carl says, sounds like a network hub that rebroadcasts every incoming packet to all its connections, as opposed to a network switch. You are correct. Now, there's a few other variants of these things, which are called, they could be called, these are called clients, by the way. We call these nodes our clients. There's also routers, which are different. I don't want to talk about them because it's complicated. And there's another one called a repeater, which has, again, a few differences. But if we didn't have routers or repeaters, this whole system would work just fine. If it was just these things we call clients. Yeah. Okay, so Unix says it's kind of a hub, but it uses a TTL. I will translate. TTL means time to live. And that's that number we talked about, that everybody gets, if everybody starts with a 5, then every time it gets repeated, it drops down until when it gets to 0, it doesn't get repeated anymore. It gets decremented. Thank you. Unix is our network expert, and if I say anything wrong, he's gonna throw a small hat at me. Inside joke. So okay, so what? I hear you say, so what? So now I'm going to cross the streams, and I'm going to put these things together. We've been using, for our automation and shop communications amongst our devices, we've been using this thing called Home Assistant, right? The communications protocol is called MQTT. It's not important what it stands for, but MQTT is a system where you can subscribe to another device, okay, and you can publish your data. So if you publish your data, Anybody who subscribes to you will pull down your data. And if they don't subscribe to you, they'll just say, yeah, nice data, I don't care. That whole system is MQTT. The Meshtastic nodes are using this Meshtastic protocol. However, there is a way to use MQTT protocol in the Meshtastic system. You're going to be very happy to hear that I cannot explain that. I haven't studied it enough. But there's a tie-in here. And we may be able to use it for longer range communications, longer range control, longer range monitoring than we can using Home Assistant. Now, the other major difference, which may or may not be obvious, is Home Assistant uses Internet Protocol, and it could very well be using the Internet. So you could be away from your system and get on your app for Home Assistant, and over the Internet monitor and control all of your Home Assistant nodes, which are running MQTT. Whereas Meshtastic is a point-to-point license-free 900 megahertz radio system, and it doesn't touch the internet if you don't want it to not touch the internet, and it works just fine. Thank you very much. And that could be of value also. So first of all, if you're a radio nerd, if you've played with radios, if you're a ham, the thing I have to tell you is it's fun. It's kind of fun setting these things up. And one of the things that makes it fun is it's cheaper than dirt. You could be on the air with one of these little boards. You know, the board will cost you $35. A battery is going to cost you $7. Maybe some better antennas might cost you. The antennas might cost you more than all the rest of the stuff. But you could be on the air with these things, playing around and actually communicating with people, far away, relatively far away, for cheap money. Paul Morley said that he bought a 2-pack of these. Paul, can you turn on your video and just show us your little show us your units, just as an example, real quick. But $50 a piece, I think, which was with shipping and with rapid turnaround. But you can get them for pretty cheap. Carl says, isn't 900 megahertz really noisy? I am so happy you asked that question. So the answer is no. In the beginning, when wireless networking started, 900 megahertz was a thing. And the first application was in offices to network printers wirelessly. That was all on 900 megahertz. Once 2.4 gigahertz came online as the wireless access Wi-Fi stuff, all the traffic went to 2.4 gigahertz. And 900 megahertz got really quiet. And the dirty little secret is it's still really quiet. So our little Meshtastic stuff is not using up much bandwidth at all. And 900 megahertz is pretty good. It is potentially noisy. It could be noisy, but I'm telling you now, as a professional, working with my clients, designing antennas, helping my clients design their products, 900 megahertz is a really good choice. The other thing is it's a lower frequency. It penetrates better. So if you have a wooden roof on your house, a wooden wall in your house, 900 megahertz will go through it a heck of a lot better than 2.4 gigahertz. There you go. Picture in chat. Paul bought this for, basically $50. And he's already, communicating with it. So that was a good question. Thank you, sir. Okay, so Evils and Unix are talking network speak in the chat, and I will let them do that. The other thing about 2.4 gigahertz, just as a side note, you know that microwave oven you have in your kitchen? Are you aware of what frequency it operates on? Yes, the exact center of the 2.4 gigahertz band. In fact, it's 2.4510, I think is the magic number. That is the center operating frequency of a microwave oven. And if you want noisy, that's noisy. So effectively, 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi has effectively 3 channels. It's got the upper one, the lower one, and the one that the microwave ovens are also on. So that's noisy. By the way, another branch of our distractions here. If you are setting something up for Wi-Fi and you have a choice of using 2.4 gigahertz and 5.8 gigahertz for, office, home, Wi-Fi, blah, 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 prioritize 5.8 gigahertz because it is quiet and it's bigger and there's lots of other good reasons. But that stinking microwave oven is a good reason to move away. No, Evils, the answer is no. So 2.4 gigahertz is an ISM band, 5.8 gigahertz is an ISM band, and 900 megahertz, as we're talking about it, is an ISM band. Industrial Scientific, ISM, Industrial Scientific Medical. Paul says, might be mistaken, but I thought seeing concerns companies might be looking to snatch up the LoRa bands. I'll tell you what, companies are looking to snatch up whatever bands they can, but it is a worldwide ISM band, and they will have to go through me to get it. So you need these bands for license-free operation. They have to be there. So there's a picture in chat from Unix Carbide, who set up this magnificent node in Brooklyn on top of a building, and there it is, and it works. And how many other nodes are you hearing now? What's your node count, Unix? $380. So basically, Unix has seen traffic or had traffic accepted by 380 different nodes. It is pretty, well, of course, it's also in New York City, and there's a lot of stuff there. But my count is 120, 150, somewhere between there. Yeah, he says averaging 190 online at any given moment. Now, for 30 to 50 bucks and a little bit of, programming to get the thing set up correctly, to be communicating is awesome. Now,
now you know the rest of the story.
Okay, so here's the real rest of the story. So Paul says, in 3 days of operation, I've already seen 122 nodes through my really low power device. So Unix and I were talking, and Unix is like, I want to buy this. I want to build this node, the one you see in the picture there. He says, and there's this antenna that a guy recommends. It's on his shopping list, and I'm going to get that antenna. What do you think of it? And he sends me the link, and I look at it, and it's it's what's called a 5.8 dBi antenna. That's the gain of the antenna, and it's supposed to be a 2-element collinear antenna, which means it's a dipole over a dipole, fed in phase. If those words don't mean anything to you, don't worry about it. And it was a relatively high gain antenna. Thing was about 16 inches long. Passed the sanity check. So I said, you know what, Unix, I'll tell you what, I'll buy one and I'll use it here. So he bought one, I bought one. So the thing comes in, and I offered to do some testing. and bring it into the lab. I'm going to find this picture here. Oh yeah, here it is. Bring it into the lab, and we start testing it. And I have a method that I use in the lab where I hook it up to an analyzer, and then I just touch the antenna along the length, and I can tell, 30 years, I can tell what's going on. Is it a high voltage point or a high current point along the antenna? And different antennas have a different profile of what you would expect to see. So I'm doing my little thing, touching the thing, bop, 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 and I get to the end of the antenna, the top of the antenna. Yeah. And I noticed there was no response. Now, the end of an antenna is the voltage hot part of the antenna, regardless of what kind of antenna it is. And when you touch the voltage hot part of an antenna, that's the part where you should see the response on the analyzer jump around the most. And a voltage minimum, current maximum, is where it shouldn't move much at all. Well, at the tip of this thing, it wasn't moving at all. And then I moved my antenna down, this 16-inch antenna, and it wasn't moving at all. And I said to Unix, I said, dude, I don't think there's anything in the top half of this antenna. And again, when I was all done, I said, no, something is not right. Oh, there's the picture I was looking for. Thank you. So this is the picture of the antenna sitting on the trash can, which is a very nice way to do it. So it's not sitting on a piece of metal. It's mostly air. And there's my fingy touching the antenna. And that was the spot where I said the antenna starts here, not at the end of the thing. So I went ahead and Unix said the fabled words. He said, I'll cover the cost. Cut it open. So I said, okay. So I cut it open, and guess what? It is exactly what we found. So here's a picture, like looking down the tube. Let's see if I can get that for you. There you go. And you have to go down to the spot that is in the other picture with my finger on it to find the end of what is in that radome. It was a fraudulent antenna. It was not what it was advertised to be. It was not what they're trying to convince you it is. And I was pretty unimpressed. Here's the actual name of the thing, the claimed gain. And I knew from both of those things that this was absolute unmitigated bullshit. Here's a picture of it sitting on my desk after we cut the top off. And that whole top section was empty. Why did I tell you this story? Because if you're going to get excited and you're going to go on Amazon and you're going to buy one of these little nodes and you're going to buy, get these antennas, use caution. And yes, you could send me a message and ask me if it's real or if it's Memorex. And yes, if you're about to put up a node up on a tall building and you want to know if the antenna you're going to use is actually good, you could convince me to test it in the lab. Okay? I like Rubens from Rhines. Just saying. So sushi's good too. This was the story. This ties back to our Meshtastic experience. So presently, I am running a node up in the attic with a commercial antenna, which I had laying around in the lab, 30 years of stuff. And I have another node that I set up in the office for experimentation. And just so you can see how incredibly complicated that looks, here's the picture of that installation. So in this picture, there's the board right down there. Okay. That's the $30 board. I've replaced the two antennas that it comes with a 2.4 gigahertz antenna right there, which is of my design, and the 900 megahertz, actually a wideband antenna up here on the window, also of my design, and that makes me feel a lot better. And so there's two nodes running right now, and they're working out great. So we're going to figure out how to use our, shop related stuff and monitor it and maybe control it, and do some other fun things with this system beyond just playing with it. But I have to tell you, just playing with it, it's a lot of fun. So Evils asks, do you use your own design of antenna because they're better or because you happen to have those around? And my answer to that is yes. Thank you very much. Unix puts up another picture. It's not all bad news. We bought this other antenna on Amazon, which was just a dipole antenna, and I tested that one, and that's the picture, $17, and it was actually a good antenna. It was like, yeah, this is an excellent antenna. So I don't want you to think that everything you could buy on Amazon is crap.
Amazon.com. Much suckage on purpose.
I don't know where that came from. That one is called an Alpha, ALFA, Alpha antenna. And this little scribbling that I had, which is in chat, was me explaining how it works. But it worked great. It was fine. Absolutely fine. So that's the story. Meshtastic. What a fine mesh you've gotten us into. We happy to talk more about it. What does this have to do with, precision machining? We're all nerds here. And the fact that we got into Home Assistant so that we can control all our stuff and monitor all our stuff, it kind of leads you in this direction, and it is kind of fun. If you have questions about this sort of thing, we have a channel in our Discord server. We have a section called the Antenna Tower. And we have a Meshtastic we have an Antenna Chat channel, and we have a Meshtastic channel. And we have an Antenna Tower voice channel. So there's a place to play in there. And we'd be happy to talk to you about it. Let's see. We're not going to go deep and explain DBI. That's for another day. Sorry, Unix. But we've been talking about it on the server a lot. Anybody have any questions? Anything I miss? Mr. Tim Beatty says, anything that gives you a donut is good. You are correct, sir. And once you get that donut, what's a high gain antenna? Correct. You've stepped on the donut. Okay. What's a really high gain antenna? You've driven over the donut. We're not going to dwell on this. Anyway, if you have any questions, feel free to message and come chat with us. I think we've gone through the list. I think we did it. By the way, I'll close with this story. Oh, that's funny. Unix says some New York dude took his Meshtastic, little handheld thing, on a plane to Atlanta. And in the meantime, for a few hours, some dude in Appalachia was on the New York City mesh. Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, true story. I know I've told this before, worth telling again. My buddy Dave and I had to go down to Washington, D.C. to do a dog and pony show for some business stuff that we were doing that relates to antennas and the military and stuff. And we're on the shuttle at Dulles Airport, that's driving around the airport. And we're sitting on one side of this little bus, and this, there's a guy sitting on the other side of this bus. And I take out my flip phone. This was my Samsung flip phone, just to put things in perspective. And I take it out and I flip the thing open, and I'm looking for, service, and I pull up the antenna and I hold it up and I'm looking for service. And I joked, I elbowed Dave. I said, that's why we don't have any service. And I pointed out the window, and there's this radar test range right next to Dulles, and we're having a good time. This guy that's sitting across the bus from us looks over and he says, it's digital, I'm like, sorry? He says, yeah, you don't, pulling up that antenna doesn't do any good. I'm like, so I look at him, I give him the blank stare. He doesn't know that he's talking to an antenna guy. I give him the blank stare and I said, why? And he says, it's digital. It doesn't need an antenna. Swear to God. My friend Dave will come and also swear that is exactly what happened. And I looked at him and I said, you're absolutely right. And we walked off the shuttle and we were laughing and laughing and laughing. And we've been laughing for 20 years. Well, I bet you didn't expect that to happen today. In the meantime, if you want to hang around on the Discord server, we'll be in the after party roundtable. If you have any questions, feel free to message me via all the usual channels. In the meantime, get flat, stay flat, and use your antenna. We'll see you guys next week.